It's wonderful to see you in Israel. Anybody who comes and visits Israel this year is definitely a true friend. And I would even say family. So that's the way I feel this morning. I love the title of this session, Heroes and Hostages, because October 7th, there are two sides of October 7th. On one hand, it's the worst security failing in the history of the state of Israel, maybe even of the Zionist movement. It was the most devastating massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And so much evil, so much tragedy, so much pain has come out of it. For the last year as Israelis, we've said we have a broken heart, but our spirits are strong. And that's the other side of October 7th. It's so many amazing stories of heroes, of young people that went and grabbed their weapons and ran into the face of danger, that fought back in an amazing way. And we're gonna hear one of those stories today. In many other Western countries around the world, we thought this is the TikTok generation. We really didn't know how strong and how amazing they are. We have Cído Semriz. I met Cído because a few days after October 7th, I was approached by a national forum of family members of hostages that had just been formed. And they asked if I could help lead an international diplomatic and media campaign on behalf of their loved ones. Me kind of being an infamous person in Israel for being connected and representing a lot of Christians around the world. So within a short amount of time, we created a coalition under a rise of over 300 Christian leaders and organizations around the world. And we did a lot of things. We distributed the kidnapped posters in over 30 languages, organized demonstrations around the world. And then we brought delegations of family members of hostages to meet with state leaders and world leaders. And the Semriz brothers, Cído and his brother Jonathan, were with us on several of those delegations. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. But, it's in times like this, when you're fighting together, you really build deep relationships. And I feel like Cído is definitely a brother in all the meaning of that word. So Cído.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Could you just tell us about your family, who you are, the members of the family?
Ima Dikla, Abba Avi. I have two brothers. Jonathan is the older brother, Alon, and one sister, Ronnie. I am 33 years old, married with two daughters.
What was the relationship between Kibbutz Kfar Aza and your Palestinian neighbors from Gaza before October 7th? What did that look like?
Well, I think at the 80s when the border was open, so people from the kibbutz went to the market and the sea and the beach in Gaza. And afterwards, the border was closed and was a bit more problematic. Afterwards, I think people from Gaza work at the kibbutz until the 6th of October. They were there, and I don't know what their purpose was, but I think some of them collect information during the years because we felt at that morning that they knew the kibbutz better than us. They walked there like they knew the kibbutz better than me. So, but we all at the kibbutz lived in the belief of coexistence.
And I understand that you were part of a team of 14 men who were the emergency response squad for the kibbutz. How prepared were you for an event like October 7th when that happened?
Well, I think nothing can prepare you for such a moment. That dozens of terrorists are already at the kibbutz when you wake up. So we were very serious when we did the training at the squad. And you must remember, we are not soldiers. I was not in a commando unit or something like that. We are all 14 members were regular soldiers with nothing special about our background. And we volunteered to defend the kibbutz until the army will come. And unfortunately, at that morning, the army didn't come for hours. So we had to deal with it.
Right, and so, as I mentioned, at that time I was creating these delegations of family members of hostages, and the Shemariz brothers said, we want to join you. And they joined our first delegation to Washington, D.C. For me, it was amazing, the doors that were opened up for us, all arranged by Christian brothers and sisters around the world. We found ourselves within 2 days meeting with Mike Johnson, who had just been appointed as the Speaker of the House of the United States Congress. And he actually, in his first Meet the Press meeting, so he's a newly elected official. Once a week, he has a big press conference where he talks about the agenda of the Congress moving forward. This is his first one, and after he'd been appointed, he said, I'm just going to give it to you. And Cído and his brother Jonathan and the other family members of hostages were able to speak to every media outlet in the United States. That's just an example of some of the work that we did. After that, we were at the European Parliament and the Council of Europe and the Parliament in France together. What was that like for you, being on those delegations?
I think it was very intense at the first moments because my English is not so good, and I thought, what can I say to convince them, But at the first time that
I think your English is okay.
Thanks. At the first time that I told my story, I felt the meaning, why we need to do it, because they never heard people at the first ממקור ראשון.
First testimony, yeah.
Yeah.
First person.
So I felt the importance of those people to hear us, because people get information from the media and they never saw people that survived the attack. They didn't met people that have a connection to hostages. So we felt the importance to share the story of us, to share the story of Alon, and to reflect the urgent times that the people are still there, and the time goes by, and people are not will not survive.
So we worked hard. Now, unfortunately, regardless of all of our efforts, we weren't able to help Alon. And maybe we could, if you could just talk for a few minutes exactly about what happened with Alon.
Turns out we didn't have to work so hard because Alon had other plans. After 65 days at the captivity, a force of the IDF killed his prisoners from the Hamas, and Alon and his two friends were free in the most dangerous neighborhood at the world at that moment, I think, a neighborhood that's called Sajaya, full of terrorists, full of the IDF soldiers. And Alon managed to go out there, and for 5 days they tried to send some signs to those forces that were there that he's still alive with his two friends. So they took tavlinim, spices.
Yeah, red spices.
So we have the famous signs that he wrote with the spices, the SOS and the help 3 hostages. And unfortunately, the IDF thought this is the the terrorists that are...
Trap.
Yeah, this is a trap, and for 5 days they didn't succeed to get the IDF to rescue them.
Now, 5 of the 101 hostages still being held from Gaza are your friends from your kibbutz. Can you tell us a little bit about them, the ones that are being held right now?
Yeah, we have 5 members of the kibbutz that are still there. Doron Steinbrecher, Keith Seagal, Emily Damari, and Gali and Ziv Berman, twins. Gali and Ziv were close friends of Alon, best friends. They are every week in my parents' house. I'm with close relation with the family, and Idan, their older brother, is my best friend. And I know Gali and Ziv very well. And I miss them. I miss the other people from my kibbutz that are passed away, but the most important thing is to save the people that are still there and still alive.
You said that we need to keep on working hard to release everyone who's left in the hands of these monsters. Right now you have probably 2,000 Christians watching you, the people in this room, plus the people online. These are true friends of Israel that really care about this situation. What would you say to them today?
I think the most important thing is to help with the media war, because there are such a lot of lies that are spread out, and we need to fight for the truth, and we need to fight for the people that share the same values as us, who believe in coexistence, who believe in just life, you know? And we need to stand together against the lies that are spread out. And the hostages are not a political tool. It's not something that you need to agree or not. People that took out from their beds at that morning, elderly and babies, they need to come back to their families now, not in a couple of days, but now.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. They say Israel is fighting a war right now on 6 fronts. We have, of course, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon. We also have had rockets from Yemen, Iraq, Iran, Syria. But I actually think we're fighting a war on 7 fronts, because the onslaught in media, and particularly social media since October 7th, is outrageous. And this is why we need your voices, like Ido said. We need to stand together and become one united voice against this. We need your voices in prayer. We need your voices in your political and communities around the world, and we need your voices in social media and traditional media like never before. And I want to thank the International Christian Embassy here and the work that you've done in speaking to the international media. It's very, very important. Do you see yourself going back and living on the kibbutz?
It's very complicated. You know, at that morning we fought for something. We fought for our hometown. We fought for our future and for our past. And my dream is to come back to the kibbutz. You know, this is the most, it's like heaven for me. And I can't see my daughters growing up in other place right now. But, and this is a huge but, I don't know what will happen in 1 or 2 years with the people in Gaza. I need to make sure that my family will never be in that scenario, that safe and quiet is the most important thing to my daughters. And if the kibbutz will not be safe and the country will not make difficult decisions, you know, about us, about the people that are there, I don't know if I will come back to Kfar Aza. And we need to deal with that also, because I never left the kibbutz. I grew up there and I never left until the 7th of October.
Thank you.